Hey guys, and welcome back to the English shooting live stream. Hope you've all had a fantastic week. Of course, you regulars know what this is all about, but for anybody else new joining us, thank you. Really appreciate it if you like and subscribe, and any regular watchers as well, make sure you hit that like button. It really does help. And if you're regular and you're not already subscribed, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. Really does help the channel to grow, reach new people, and get new people into this sport. But yes, it's an interactive chat, so please get involved. Any topics or questions you want to bring up or ask, then I will try and answer as many as possible. And a big hello to everyone that was saying hello prior to the stream going live. And of course, my number one fan, hello Mum, thank you once again for joining, even leaving home. And Mum still needs to help support what I do, which certainly is always great to see. But yes, I hope you've all had a fantastic week. We've got some interesting discussions, some interesting topics for this evening. For some reason, it's frozen on my screen. I don't know if that's come up for you as well. This is always, YouTube always loves to give me the heebie-jeebies. Let's give it a try. Have everything looks fine my end. That's just from the preview. I've got a little preview screen that comes up. Yeah, seems to be good. Let me know if we drop out. I might have to refresh the chat. Oh, good old YouTube. It's the best way to see that I'm live is watching that bloody preview window. But yes, lots of interesting stuff to get onto as a result of FELWG. So yeah, it's working fine. But that one's gone down anyway. Well, I'll open this new tab. There we go. Back to it. There's a working group called FELWG. Not a lot of people know about it, even though it is hugely influential and decisive in what happens with firearms licensing. So FELWG, which is I'll bring up the meeting agenda and minutes for you. So it's FELWG, and that stands for the Firearm and Explosives Licensing Working Group. And when you look at the sort of attendees that are on these meetings, there's some fairly familiar names and fairly big names that attend it. So you can see that you have, or you should have, representatives from pretty much every single county across the country, because of course within the UK each county has their own firearms licensing department. So of course, you know, Hampshire, of course, I'm based in Hampshire. So we've got the head of Hampshire Firearms, Tony Hill, representing that. But you also have people from the NCA, the National Crime Agency. This is the equivalent of the FBI here in the UK. They deal with serious and organised crime, which of course involves firearms. You've got NABIS, which is the National Ballistics Intelligence Service. Bit of an oxymoron on that name, but we won't get onto that. So you've got the Home Office there. And other representatives. And an interesting addition, they've been there for a couple, is this Mowbray Partners. I'm going to do a little bit more digging on this. It's a private limited company that is providing training to firearm inquiry officers and also firearms licensing department. It's just interesting that one of their representatives, Mark Gruthius, used to be the head of Hampshire Firearms Licensing, which at the time had one of the worst reputations for sort of their metrics in terms of how long they would take, how harsh they were in terms of their interpretation of the laws. Actually didn't have a very good reputation amongst other firearms licensing departments. He left, went and worked for NABIS, ended up being part of the team that brought in the offensive weapons bill push to ban Mars lever release and also 50 cals, and now he's retired from that, or left that role. He now works for Mowbray Partners, which is advising firearms licensing how to train their FEOs and licensing departments. Just like, you've gone from being on the inside to going to an anti-gun banning organisation to then advising the government as a paid role outside of the police. As I said, a little bit more digging required. We might spend a little bit of time doing that digging this evening, and even representatives from outside of the police, obviously Mowbray are technically outside of the police, but one for us, as it were, or as it may seem. Again, in doing various research from just this minutes and researching these names and researching these people, there's an interesting past, let's just say, to Martin Parker of Basque. He heads up he is the head of Basque Firearms licensing. So these minutes, just really, I could make hour-long videos on various sections of this, but as the title of this stream would say, we are going to be talking about moderators, and we are going to be, well, you can see a little preview for zeroing there, but they talk about moderators within this meeting, and it's actually quite interesting, and something that we've been talking about for a very long time that would help free up time and resource within the firearms licensing departments. So this is a bit from Basque. So this isn't the police calling for this. This is Basque, and to be fair, it's good to see Basque in these meetings pushing for, I think, more logical and straightforward laws and also interpretations of the firearms guidance. But it's this main paragraph here. The subject of sound moderators being subject to certificate control as items designed to reduce the noise or flash of a firearm. The practitioners, and the practitioners being Basque, as far as I understand, and maybe other organisations within the firearms community, would like this to be reviewed with a view to them being removed from certification. So completely unrestricting them, no licenses required anymore. They would just become what they effectively are, which are bits of metal pipe. This was discussed, and the advantages for both agreed. Interestingly, and I think this really does sum up the relationship that the firearms community has with firearms licensing, certainly at the moment with everything going on. There was an agreement by all parties that everyone should enter meaningful conversations rather than going to war. Like, you know, these are senior members of the police and Home Office, and they're using language like going to war with each other. Like, God knows what it's like to be a fly on the wall of these meetings, but I don't know, it doesn't sound very pleasant. You would think that it would all be very gentlemanlike and, you know, straightforward and sensible. So this is, from what I've seen, it's been talked about long before, and I don't know, I haven't gone through with a fine-tooth comb yet of all the other FELWG meetings and minutes, but this seems to be the real first proper documented discussion within pretty much the most influential working group there is to unrestricting sound moderators, or, you know, again, there's like, you know, loads of different names for them. We've suppressors, moderators, silencers, whatever you want to call them. They're pretty much exactly the same thing. Now, in the UK, it's not that difficult to be able to get a sound moderator because it's to do with health and safety. So most firearms licensing departments and most firearm inquiry officers won't turn down the application for one under the right grounds. If you say to them, look, I'm worried about damaging my hearing here, can I have a sound moderator? They're going to go, yes, because if they say no, you go out and shoot without a moderator and you get hearing damage, then, well, whose liability is that? It's like, well, I could have prevented this, but you said no, and now I've got I've effectively got a disability. Who's going to help me take care of those? Who's going to pay for a hearing aid so I can continue to hear? So it's fairly straightforward. My experience with FEOs is that they routinely up the amount of suppressors and moderators that you are allowed to own. So when I applied and did a variation for one, I think I only applied for one, and this was because at the time I was shooting at a club called Phoenix. They're based in Slingford, just outside of Guildford on the south coast, and they required a sound moderator to be able to shoot mini rifle there. It was one of the conditions of the site. So I said to my FEO, look, this isn't like, oh, I just want one in my ears and all this. Genuinely, to be able to use this gun at the main club that I'm shooting at the moment, I require a sound moderator. And he said, yep, no problem at all. Do you want moderators for the rest? And I was like, well, I didn't want to take the piss. Like, personally, I don't see a huge need for them. And he was like, well, it's hearing protection. He said, you've got really good justification for having that one for your 2.2 semi-auto for mini rifle. But if you want them to potentially protect your hearing as well, have them for the rest of the rifles. So when your FEO offers you more than what you're asking for, never say no. You never say no. So I ended up with like 3 or 4 slots for sound moderators. Why would they be looking to reclassify them or open them up and de-restrict them? Well, it's about the time and paperwork, and we've discussed this many times on this channel before, that the fact that sound moderators, and the Americans are probably going, you bastards, because this is really one of the only things that we've got one up over the Americans on, but what having them restricted really, for me, doesn't prevent crime, because in order to use a sound moderator, you need to have a gun. So it's like, it doesn't matter if somebody can just walk into a shop and go and buy one. If they don't have the gun, then they're not going to be able to use it. And firearms licensing is about restricting the gun. So it's going to free up a hell of a lot of time, because people won't have to do variations. Like, how many variations have there been solely for suppressors, right? How many FEOs have had to make a trip to somebody's house to have a face-to-face sit-down talk over a variation for a suppressor? Well, that's a huge amount of time and expenditure for firearms licensing for something that I think most people agree you should just be able to go out and buy, and well, it's not dangerous. And does a sound moderator make a firearm any more dangerous? No, it doesn't effectively increase the effectiveness of it. And let's just remember that in the real world and not the movies, they're moderators or suppressors. They're not actually silencers. They don't, apart from if you have maybe a 2.2 a 2.2 bolt action that's running subs, but really, if you're shooting any full bore cartridge, you can still hear them. It just reduces the sound. So it's not like in the movies where no one's going to know where you are because you're shooting off a 9mm with a suppressor of it, although we don't have a 9mm handgun, but a 223, you're still going to hear it. There's still going to be noise. So really, in practicality and reality, having them on a license, it's a drain on resources, it's a waste of time. So why not free up that time and allow the police that are currently underfunded and overstretched on resource to focus on more important matters on firearms licensing. The other thing that I would like to see change as well is ammunition limits. I really don't, and we're going to get on to ammunition limits in a minute, because there's a very, very interesting few points made around ammunition in the same meeting. But ammunition limits, why do we have ammunition limits? It doesn't actually physically stop somebody from going and stocking up on ammunition. Yes, they would be breaking the law, but if they're stocking up on ammunition for an illicit reason, that illicit reason is going to be breaking the law anyway, and the act, or the criminal act of having over your limit, is always going to be far under the other criminal activity you're up to in stocking up, or you want to be stocking up for with ammunition. So reducing or eliminating ammunition limits, I think, would go a long way as well to freeing up a lot of time and making things more effective. So again, it's very good to see BASC pushing for these things and to see them trying to change things, and also the reception from the police to be in agreement that there are advantages to removing them off ticket. The real sort of curveball with moderators is also the fact that you can actually just go and buy them anyway, because you don't need a firearm certificate. If you have a sub 12 foot-pound rifle, air rifle, you can go and buy a moderator for a sub 12 foot-pound air rifle with no certificate. You don't need a firearm certificate for a sub 12 foot-pound air rifle, not in England and Wales, but within the UK or Northern Ireland even, I think. Only in Scotland you require a certificate or a license for a sub 12 foot-pound air rifle. But the moderators also for air rifles are also unrestricted. So you have this really funny sort of crossover of a lot of moderators are both sort of firearm or live fire cartridge rated, or even in some case proofed, but they're also for air guns. So if you go in there into a gun shop and buy one for an air gun, like technically there's, apart from it would be breaking the law, there's technically nothing stopping you from then using that on a rifle. You've bought it legally, you're in possession of it legally because it's for your air rifle. So there's already sort of this weird grey area of moderators. So again, why have them under Section 1 and be wasting all of this sort of precious time? Evening, Mr. Rack and Load. Thanks for stopping by, Neil. Good to see you. It's been a long time actually since we've met up. Hopefully I have the opportunity. I need to come and do more shooting up at Yevely, that's for sure. So I don't know, drop me a line. We'll see if we meet up, go for a shoot, maybe do a collaborative video, you know, go and shoot a few guns. We've got a few interesting guns in the armory at the moment, so we could bring those up and you have a play with those as well. Will Connors be coming back? What, in just general? He hasn't left, he's still here. So I've approached this many times, doing it at Magload HQ, because obviously it's a workplace, it's where a lot of stuff is made. I have to set up everything every time I do a stream. So I have, you know, I film a lot of videos here at home. I've pretty much got to pack up everything, including, like, for the live stream, there's a lot more equipment than just the normal videos. So I've got to pack that all up, transport that to Magload, get it all set up, get it all positioned, and then the next day tear it all down. So it's just a hell of a lot easier for me to host the streams here, and also, you know, Connors, he does say, oh, you know, we're going to do live streams, and then when I invite him onto a live stream, he just pisses and moans and plays his games on his phone. So I don't know if people, it's not like he's never coming back onto a live stream. There will be live streams with Connors, don't worry. Perhaps I should just invite him round for an evening and we do a live stream together here. That might be an option. But he's like, you know, it interferes with my dinner, it interferes with my evening, and then I just spend most of the time listening to you ramble on. I was like, well, that's why people tune in, don't they? I guess. Or maybe just my devilish good looks. But yes, we actually, in terms of Connors, actually, we are going to be doing a lot of videos, or Connors is going to be doing videos on this channel. So I don't believe anybody has ever done, like, other people have obviously joined in on the videos and have been part of videos. But I've been talking this with Connors. He's got a lot of ideas and wants to do videos on things that I wouldn't do. Far more sort of technical gunsmithy videos and sort of deep dives into guns. So we've been saying it for a while, and it's sort of become a recurring joke, but he will be doing videos on this channel. So yeah, there's going to be, I think, more of the political discussion side, which is always what I seem to focus on, and what I think you guys tend to like a lot more. But then there's also the more technical gun side of things, and not necessarily reviews or more technical reviews. I don't know. He has a very different flavour of video that he wants to do. So he's gonna produce some content for the channel. So you will see him on the channel. And he's not, you know, I see him every day. He's not gone anywhere. Any news on FAC renewals being extended to 10 years? No, I have heard things about that before. In terms of renewal times, I don't know. It's a hugely divisive conversation. Some people, some shooters and certificate holders actually think that the renewal should be earlier. I've heard some people in support, you know, shooters and pro firearm people support 2-3 year renewals. Of course, people have previously pushed for 10 years for the same reason that the discussion of moderators have come up, to free up police time. If they need to renew somebody's certificate every 10 years rather than 5 years, then that's half the workload for them. Again, they can maybe put more attention to detail in the work that they're doing, or cover more aspects of firearms licensing, tick more boxes, do more paperwork, because that's, of course, what civil servants love to do. I don't know. I haven't heard anything recently about 10 years. but we'll see where that goes. In terms of renewal times at the moment, I hope they don't, I'm not going to name them or get into any specifics, but just a quick update on Plymouth, or moreover Devon and Cornwall firearms licensing. Revocations are still, well, not revocations, seizures are still going on, but it just seems like they're doing everything wrong and everything backwards at the moment. They not only are they going after people for the minutest things to cover their backs, they're actually now falling in their standards on their renewals. So sort of a subscriber and somebody that I've known for a number of years now got in contact. They're in Devon and Cornwall. They were due to have their renewal in November. They phoned up and said, look, are you gonna do it, because it's gonna run out in a few days. They gave him like a 6 or 8 week extension, which brought them into January. Again, it was getting to the end of that, and he phoned them up and said, well, we're getting to the end of this extension, what's going on? They've now given him a 6 months extension. So yes, there's a conversation about how long is too long in terms of renewal. Should it be less time or should it be more time? But as it stands at the moment, there is a reason that the police and groups like FELWG and the Home Office settled on 5 years for renewal, and sort of by definition, by extending it past what they have deemed to be this suitable period, is introducing more risk. So 6 months, and they even said, oh, if we get to the end of that 6 months, we'll give you another 6 months. So he could be looking at, instead of around the 5 year mark for the renewal, he could be looking 6, maybe even 6.5, 7 years in terms of renewal. Now, a lot of things happen in that time, and that's why you can have the argument for a shorter renewal period, because, well, you could say even in 6 months somebody can change massively. A lot of things can happen in somebody's life and work and general day-to-day existence that can completely change them as a person in a very short amount of time. But again, 5 years is agreed. So they're putting all this time and energy and effort into going around and duping certificate holders to seize their guns. Again, I say duping because they're not going and knocking on the door and saying, would you like to voluntarily surrender your firearms, which is what they're doing. They're going in there saying, we've come to seize your guns. It's, again, a very aggressive, different wording to what they're actually doing. And a lot of people just go, oh, they think that it's a revocation. They think they don't have a choice, or they don't have an option there. And of course are handing it over. So they're putting a lot of time and energy into doing that. Meanwhile, they're still not doing their job. They're still meant to be renewing certificates. You can sort of understand somewhere like Devon and Cornwall after the Plymouth shooting, them going, right, okay, yeah, we need to maybe have a bit of review and sort of shut things down for a while and just check that we are doing things correctly, because they quite clearly fucking didn't. Let's not do any new applications, and whilst obviously it's still, it is their duty to do that in extreme circumstances like that, where there is obviously failings there's obviously something not right. You don't want to propagate that and continue making those mistakes, and maybe put the brakes on it. But still, renewals, you're leaving people out, and these are people already with firearm certificates. You've got to continue the renewal process sort of at all costs. It causes people a huge amount of stress. Even when they get that letter, or they get the confirmation or the proof from the police saying, no, it's fine, don't worry about it, you've got another 6 months. The person that I spoke to, they're incredibly stressed out about this. They're like, I don't feel right about it. I know that I've got it in writing, but as far as I'm concerned, my certificate's expired. I can't go and buy ammunition. I can't buy or sell guns. I just feel very uneasy about the whole thing, and it's going to cause a lot of undue stress for him until that is all sorted out. Meanwhile, they're going and causing, well, a significant more amount of stress, knocking on people's door at 2 o'clock in the morning and taking their guns. So it just seems like a complete they haven't been doing their job correctly. There's been a load of failings, and they're just going to compound that by giving 6 months extensions, not checking people when they're meant to, whilst they're kicking in people's doors. Well, not kicking in people's doors, knocking on people's doors. So it just seems to be compounding it left, right and centre, and there doesn't seem, unfortunately, to be any signs of improvement. at the moment. So we need a beer check. Yes, I got the Brewdog, which apparently they support various organisations that we don't like. I didn't spend my own money on it. It was a gift. And what's worse than giving money to a company that uses it to help hunt saboteurs and, I don't know, people, and help people like Chris Packham, is wasting beer. Beer should not be wasted at any cost. So, you know, it was given to me. I will drink it. But it is a Brewdog Dead Pony. It's one of their pretty standard ranges. Actually, one of my favourites. It's good flavour, that one. And I do have another one for later on, if I do happen to get through this, which is one of their lagers. It's their Lost lager. I think I've had this before. Slightly different. I don't know. Maybe we'll get onto that later. That's the beer update for this evening. Again, a reminder, if you're enjoying the stream, please hit that like button. I can see there's a significant difference between the amount of people watching and the likes. If you're watching this and you don't like it while you're watching it, so hit that like button. It's free, it takes 2 seconds and makes all the difference. So back on to this meeting. Really, these FELWG minutes are the gift that keep on giving. And this, I read this to Connors today. We're in the office. I was like, look, stop me when this starts getting a bit silly. Like 3 words in, stop. And it just gets worse. So just for anyone that wasn't here at the start of the stream, within the UK we have FELWG, which is the Firearm and Explosives Licensing Working Group. It's all of the major stakeholders within firearms licensing, and these are the official minutes released from the result of their last meeting, which was in October 2021. We've already talked about the sound moderators and suppressors and how they're talking about potentially taking them off license and completely unrestricting them. But there was an interesting first discussion which it just raised my eyebrows, and I really don't know what they're smoking. So one of the minutes, one of the agendas was environmental scanning for the zeroing. Zeroing environmental scanning was undertaken following the previous meeting. There were 3 main areas of opinion. Again, guys, stop me when it starts getting silly. Legislation. So this is what the guidance says. This is really what they should be operating to. The guidance states that there should be no prescribed limits set on the number of rounds of ammunition that can be expected during zeroing, although this will need to be compatible with the functions and consistency of the overall limits on possession. Again, we have ammunition limits in the UK, so, you know, just because you want to go and use 10,000 rounds zeroing your 2.2 rifle and you've only got 1,000, that doesn't allow you to have more than your 1,000 limits. NABIS, again, the National Ballistics Intelligence Service. I can't remember what the A stands for. I think it is just the National Ballistics Intelligence Service. Typically between 3 and 5 rounds. So what they are saying is that typically it only takes 3 to 5 rounds to zero a rifle. Wait for the barrel to cool, fire a further 3 rounds as a group test to confirm. Okay, so they're saying 8 rounds. They're saying that you can go and get a brand new gun, get a brand new scope, put it on some brand new mounts, put that on the gun, and you can zero it to your required distance in 8 rounds. Now, what I would like them to ask them to do is to demonstrate how they do that. Because in any zeroing, now, testing your zero in terms of, you know, maybe you haven't shot the gun for a while, maybe it's being transported, or you really want to make sure just before a big match that everything is still tip top and you're bang on accurate. Yes, testing the zero of a rifle you can do within 3 to 5 rounds, but completely zeroing a rifle 3 to 5 rounds with 3 test rounds, I don't think it's that's in. Well, it's not even a question of whether it's possible. That's just fucking dangerous. Limiting somebody, saying that you can only use that many rounds to zero your rifle. How many rifles are going to be out there that are dangerous? Oh shit, no, I didn't manage to get on target, but I've used up my 8 rounds and now I can't use any more, so I guess wherever it's shooting will have to do. Basque, fairly reasonable response. The process of zeroing is to ensure that the sights are aligned to the bore so that the point of impact is the same as the point of aim at the range for which the rifle is zeroed. This process takes as long as it takes and as many cartridges as are needed to achieve it, plus a few on top to make certain the zero is secure and not wandering. It was raised within the meeting that several police armourers had stated it should be 3 to 5 rounds, and this would be the expectation and not as many as you want. And this is unfortunately a prime example of misinterpreting or twisting or flat out ignoring the guidance from firearms licensing. They've basically gone, yeah, the legislation says you should be able to use as much ammunition as you need to be able to zero your rifle. BASC, who have a hell of a lot of experience in the real world as part of the shooting community, are going, yes, you need to be able to shoot as many to make sure that the gun is zeroed. Like neighbours, who their experience of shooting a gun is usually bolting it to a jig and firing it within a chest jig within a lab, and police armourers, which, I'm not going to necessarily poo-poo all police armourers, but they're not exactly going to be as, say, experienced as some of the certificate holders out there in the UK. And they basically go, well, yeah, that's final. Neighbour says this, police armourer says this, so we're going to ignore the people with the most experience, and we're going to completely ignore the guidance, and we're all going to agree that it's not as many as you want, and it's 3 to 5. It's just the blatant ignorance, it's the blatant twisting and maybe re-guidance. And this is again why we end up with so many different interpretations, because maybe one force is going to go away from that and say, well, BASC says unlimited and Neighbour says this, and perhaps you get one force that want to listen to Neighbour more and you get one force that listen to BASC, and then you end up with this disparity and in continuity amongst firearms licensing departments up and down the country. So yeah, I don't know, let me know what you think. What do you think? I might even make a full video out of this, because it is just utterly ridiculous. I don't know, ask your FEO. Again, it's very hard to go against the guidance or the instruction of the police or firearms licensing. It could look negative, but I would quite happily have that discussion with an FEO. I'm sorry, I'm not prepared to go and shoot a gun that hasn't been properly zeroed. And Connors and I were talking about this, a brand new gun, you start 5 yards away from the target and you walk it out. It could take 15, 20 rounds to safely and to be 100%, your minimum, to be 100% certain. And that's if you sort of get it on first try, If you're massively out or you over adjust it or whatever, you could need more just to be absolutely sure. And then there's also testing. There's testing the zero. So we actually spent a lot of time with Team Maglo member Ben Ducker finding the perfect zeroed range to give you the flattest shooting across all pretty much any mini rifle distance. So from like 5 yards to 100 yards. And of course that took hundreds of rounds, because you'd need to zero it in at one range and then test it at different distances and find where the deviation was, and then maybe adjust it to a different zero and this, that and the other. So testing and understanding your zero and really knowing when you're going for the top level of a sport, you need to know that gun and piece of equipment inside and out. And to say literally 8 rounds is the maximum, or 3 to 5 rounds to zero and 3 to confirm, it's just flat out dangerous. So yeah, let me know, what do you think is an acceptable amount of rounds for zeroing? Range 23, thanks for joining, Bob. A 3-round group isn't really a group at all. Yeah. How could zeroing limit be enforced? So what I think this is spawned out of, moreover, I don't think it's actually going to be used that the police are going to swoop in and going, you fired 9 rounds zeroing your rifle, right to the nick with you, we're taking your guns. I don't think that's what it's really intended for. I think what they're trying to cap off is people using zeroing to up their limits to maybe unjustified amounts. Again, Whether or not you agree with having ammunition in the limits in the first place, that's a different discussion. We have them, and what you may see is people going, well, you're only giving me 200 rounds of 308 as a limit. It takes me 50 rounds just to zero the rifle. So I'm going to run, you know, if I zero my rifle once a week, I'm going to run out of ammunition continuously, and then I'm not going to have enough to go out and do what I want with this gun, be that stalking or target shooting. So, you know, actually, could you up it to say 500? I think that's more of what they're trying to stop. Again, what does, like, why does it matter if somebody has 2,000 rounds or 20,000 rounds? It's like, what are they going to do with the 2,000? What are they going to do with the 20,000 that they're not going to do with the 2? And don't say shoot an additional 18,000 rounds, but you know what I mean. In terms of a danger to the public, which is of course what this is all about, why does that make them more dangerous? Like, you know, you can only carry so much, right? So I think that's more what it's about, rather than actually stopping people from zeroing it. Tony, so most FEOs are not shooters. They are not required to have any experience with firearms, which is part of and the root of a lot of the issues that we have here in the UK. Just a complete understanding, and that's why things like this is just so dangerous. NABUS, who are effectively the police experts on firearms, coming out and saying something like that. FEOs that don't know any better are going to go, yeah, 3 to 5 rounds. Yeah, fine. That's what neighbours say. That's what we're going to go for. Let's not forget this little gem, because of course in my recent research, I was able to go back and find some various interesting statements that neighbours have made in the past. Unfortunately, I refreshed this page. Let's have a look, because this is utterly ridiculous. Here we go. So these were minutes of, what was it? This was around the Offensive Weapons Bill. So, of course, the Offensive Weapons Act, as it is now, this was the bill that was put to the House. Of course, the bill became an act. It became law. Ended up banning, it ended up removing Mars and lever release rifles from Section 1, but they were also at this time trying to reclassify 50 BMGs, even though none had ever been used within England, Scotland and Wales in crime, and the only one that was ever stolen was actually recovered. So again, in terms of the statistics of what's actually happened in the past, a very, very low threat or danger level to the public. But obviously they have these debates and these sittings where they get people from all different sides, and obviously the MPs and the politicians use these people's guidance to make up their opinion so that they can then vote. So we had representing NABUS, again, look, you know, familiar name that popped up, Mark Groothuis, although at that time actually Operation Endeavour Counter-Terrorism Policing Metropolitan Police. So a lot of different jobs that guy's had. But it's Christopher Lynn that we... Oh, no, sorry, this wasn't actually NABUS, correcting myself. So the National Crime Agency, Christopher Lynn, Senior Firearms and Explosives Officer for the National Crime Agency. Again, somebody you would think would be incredibly knowledgeable about all things guns. Now, I'm pretty sure that what he says is actually a quote from somebody from NABUS. I think it was either Mark Groothuis or Greg Taylor at the time. But Christopher Lynn ended up saying, when they got into the discussion about the potential threat level of a 50 cal or 50 BMG, so one of the... so it's Victoria Atkins. Let us break that down. You talked about distance, but you are able to give us a distance in terms of local landmarks to help us understand how far these weapons can go. Christopher Lynn, I'm not a Londoner, so I'm unsure if I can. I'm sorry, Minister. The MOD has a requirement out to 1,800 to 2,000 metres, but the 50 Browning round, the prohibition would not deal only with that cartridge, is effective out to 6,800 metres, according to MOD data, that's 6.8 kilometers, which is an enormous range. Yeah, that's right. The National Crime Agency, a specialist from the National Crime Agency, ended up saying that a 50 BMG has an effective round of 6.8 kilometers. Again, please provide somebody that can consistently hit a target and be effective out to 6.8 kilometers. And again, this is what these are the people that are influencing our politicians. They're influencing our laws and our guidance and our legislation. And whether that's an outright lie or it's just a complete misunderstanding from Christopher Lim, you have to make that up for yourselves. But it is just laughable and also quite infuriating that this sort of information is being quoted as fact to our MPs. And again, there's various, I don't know, it's, Mark Groothuis himself, certainly there's no example of there being used in crime recently. We have to go back to the troubles in Northern Ireland. I think back into the troubles in Northern Ireland, the last thing people were worried about were 50 BMGs. I'm going to be completely honest on that one. And this was actually debunked as well. There was a suggestion that 50 was being used to snipe members of the armed forces, so we were going back to the 80s. Other than that, there's no suggestion that legally held rifles have been used in crime. So I can't remember, again, we can be, I can go through this all night, but again, I think it was Mark Groothuis that actually said that, the danger of having 50 BMGs out there is, of course, they get stolen, which just doesn't happen. It's happened once, and it was recovered, so an incredibly small risk. But they were saying, oh yes, but it can penetrate certain armor and body armor and things like that. That's why they're so dangerous. And as it transpired, experts said, well, the sort of armor that you're worried about a 50 BMG penetrating can be penetrated by other rounds as well. 338 Lepore, even 308. So they were like, why are you using that as an argument? Why are you using that as any sort of point? It's not like the BMG, 50 BMG is particularly special in piercing through this type of armor. There's a number of rounds that you're not even interested in that can go through that round. And then of course there was the whole argument about another particular type of like armored vehicles. So that was obviously like plate carriers and body armor for people, but they were saying as well that with armored vehicles, the 50 BMG would be able to pierce through armored plating on these armored vehicles. And as it transpired, the round that would be required to do that is not under Section 1. It's not under a firearm certificate. It's purely a military round, which civilians don't have access to and not able to own under a Section 1. So it was like, yeah, so they would have to steal a 50 BMG from 50 BMG rifle from a certificate holder, and then they would have to go and steal rounds from the MOD or the police, or smuggle it in, to then have this potential nightmare scenario where they've got a gun that can pierce through. It was just, again, whether it's just they're knowingly lying or they're just completely mistaken and they're naive to it and they actually don't have a clue what they're saying, I'll let you guys decide that. You could make a case for either side, but again, this is why it's quite interesting and maybe in some ways concerning that Mark Groothuis is advising this, is now part of this company that is now doing this firearms training or providing training for firearms licensing. So you've got somebody that's like vehemently anti-gun, has been very much a part of banning things, and now he's instructing firearms licensing officers and firearm inquiry officers how to do their job. Like you can just sort of imagine, or what's the sort of checks there of maybe a conflict of interest, or the checks there of potential bias? Have those checks been done? It could be asked, is there bias there? You could ask the question whether there's not going to be some sort of manipulation, because and we've talked about this again before, because the police, people coming from a police background or even a counter-terrorism background, their full experience of firearms is a negative one. You know, like there's no terrorist experience with firearms that are nice, are there? Right? So your views and your opinions are going to be negatively biased because that's what you're going to think of. It's why we have a big uphill struggle with general members of the public and trying to understand that, you know, firearms ownership is not like it is in the movies or not like it's portrayed on TV, because that's what people have their mindset on. That's what they are exposed to. Most people only see guns in movies or see guns on the news when they've been used in horrific ways. So it negatively reinforces it in their mind that guns are inherently bad. Does that carry over to these people? I don't know, but it's again certainly concerning, and I think should be looked at more closely. Zero your rifle with a bore sight. Yes, absolutely, but how much is a bore sight? You know, there's a lot of people that shoot on a shoestring budget. And yes, you can say, well, if they've got the money to go out there and buy ammunition to zero the rifle, they can buy a bore sight. But, you know, it's not necessarily fair or in a way justified to say, no, you should go out and buy a bore sight and only zero with 3 rounds. Again, can you use a bore sight and would you be happy with only firing a 3-round group to check it after using the bore sight? Is it going to be on target enough using a bore sight for you to fire those 3 rounds and be happy? Or are there going to be further fine adjustments made? It depends on what level of accuracy or precision that you're going after there, and what distances you're shooting at. You know, again, if you're shooting a 338, 308, or, you know, even a 50 BMG out to 1,000 kilometers, which is well within its effective range, just for anyone that might think it's 6.8 kilometers, like, is 3 rounds going to be enough for that? Again, you go and zero it at a much smaller distance, again for safety reasons, because obviously any differences at like 1,000 yards or 2,000 yards is going to be significantly magnified if it's off at, say, 100. But if you're shooting at a top level long distance competition, are you going to just confirm your distance with just 3 or 4 or 5 rounds, or use a bore sight? Does a bore sight even go 2,000 yards? It's like, it's so many reasons why, again, I think it's very, very dangerous giving the impression to shooters that you can only use a limited amount of rounds to zero your rifle. Tony Victor, I don't think many FLDs have taken up Mulberry's training. So I actually have information regarding that, because again, I think this is going to end up being a full video, and they've got an email address, so I'll maybe drop them an email and see if they want to comment and maybe give a bit of a... Oh, they could come onto a live stream if they really wanted, if they're brave enough. But it was, I think it's in the most recent meeting where they talk about it. Give me 2 secs, I'll find it. Where is it? So they do, I've read this now a few times and it's definitely here, but I can't find it. Two seconds, guys, and online training. Here we go. Main agenda, online training. So again, this is from the meetings of the FELWG, the Firearm and Explosives License Working Group. Mulberry training update from Ken McIntosh. There are currently 10 forces who have signed up and are undertaking the training. There are others waiting to secure funding, with 2 other forces fully trained and have achieved their CMI certification. So, you know, 10 forces, like how many counties are there in the UK? Just how, probably being a Brit, I should know this. Counties, no, not countries. Counties in England. Let's go UK. There are 48 That's what Google says. Oh, that's in England. 48 counties in England. So I don't know whether they are extending that out to Scotland and Wales. But why doesn't it just say counties of the United Kingdom? Here we go. So England, 48. Scotland, 33. Wales. Dan, how many counties are there in Wales? 13, I think it's saying. And Northern Ireland. Jesus. It's like there are 6. So we've got 6, 13. What did I say? I think it was it 48? 33 in Scotland and 48 in England. So that actually makes around 100 counties. So you say not many have taken it up. Okay, it's 10%. But this is a start. This is a fairly new thing that they're implementing, and they've already got 10%, right? It's, if you said to any new company within the first year they would have a 10%, they would have 10% of the market, I think most people would take that, right? Like in any industry, in any market, within the first year, having 10% of all the possible, out of all the customers in the world or within the country, you would have 10% of them as your customers. You did 10% of the full market. That's quite significant. And how long until it's 20%, 30, 40, 50, until they're all signed up? So yeah, they don't underestimate the influence that this is going to have, and is already having within our firearms licensing. Oh yeah, I forgot. Somebody said at the start of the stream, guns are illegal in the UK. I know, Wonderloaf, you are joking, but you're saying show me your Glock. Oh, that's 2011. I thought it was that shelf. It's a Glock, sort of. It looks like a Glock. You didn't say it had to be a 9mm or live fire Glock, but that is, of course, my old Action Air pistol, and now I'm going for the 2011 because I've admitted defeat, and it's better for that. So anyway, but it's a Glock. I showed you a Glock. I could show you a picture of a Glock, of like a real one, a 9mm one. Gonzo the Great, a lot of forces have combined their firearms licensing department, so it is the number of licensing department that is the important number. Yeah, very good point, because I know, well, Hampshire and Thames Valley, they've combined, but they are still, I don't know, I think they've combined, but they still have separate offices. It's like, we can waste efficiency, and we can have all the inefficiencies of having to work with 2 counties, and all the inefficiency of having separate offices. Great. Daniel, what matches have you signed up for? Not enough so far. I've signed up for the Welsh shotgun. I don't think the Welsh mini rifle is open yet. As soon as it is, I'll be signing up for that 100%. I will be shooting every single match. That's it's just I've been lazy and I haven't signed up to them. But yeah, the better question is, what has my lack of admin, not what my lack of admin has yielded so far, but what matches I'll be shooting in the UK this year. The only match that I'm aware of that I'm going to miss is going to be the Home Counties Level 3 shotgun match, because we're going to be out in America. So it's, I can't be 2 places at once. But yeah, the Scottish Shotgun Championship, the Welsh Shotgun Championship, Welsh Mini Rifle Championship, the Southern Areas Mini Rifle Championship, Coats of Iron Level 3 Championship match, shotgun. I think there's another, there's the Yevley Level 3 Mini Rifle match they're putting on. Be shooting that. And also there's a level 3 action air match being held in Winchester at the barn. I'll be shooting that, probably shooting the pre-match. So lots of matches, and I'm going to be going to XPSC a lot more and shooting their club nights, shooting their sort of league matches and their club matches there. Also, have you organised for Prague and the US trip? Not yet. I will. We've been quite busy. We have lost a Glock bro to the 1911 crew. No, it's like, look, action air is not like, action air guns are in no way indicative of live firearms, right? In terms of 9mm, it's still the polymer frame. It's still not having a safety. Fucking hate safeties. Like, put the safety in the trigger, because this is my safety. Don't want to get too cliche with that one. But yeah, in terms of shooting 9mm and live firearms, yeah, give me a Glock, give me a Walther PPQ any day of the week rather than a 2011 or 1911. But for action air, the Glock isn't, the gun itself is fine. The magazines are shite. And there was a match, and there's loads of, I think there is some footage of it out there. The first level 3 action air match that I shot, the gun just kept venting. And it's like, so you'd get the first couple of shots and then and you're just changing the mag, and on some stages where you should be doing it in 4 or 5 seconds, chucking in an additional mag change and making sure the gun doesn't completely shit the bed, it just absolutely tanks you, and it's frustrating. So if I am quite a competitive person, that's just in my nature, and if I do something certainly competitively, I want to do the best that I can do with it. And if I make a mistake, fine, but the equipment failing, that infuriates me beyond belief, because if I make a mistake, I can change that, I can train that out, I can analyze it and go, I should have done this differently, or next time I will do it like that. If the gun is just completely unreliable and continuously lets you down, to a certain extent you have some control over that, like not buying a Chris Defiance or Chris Vector and using it for mini rifle. But I digress. Or buying a 930 JM Pro or a 940 JM Pro and going into competition with it. But again, I digress again. Just buy a Benelli M2 for God's sake, or a 1522 or a Battle Arms, and just win. But yeah, I like making sure within my control of the equipment that it is all functional and it's working. So make sure it's clear, make sure it's zeroed. Big point, that one. And making sure that the gun's functional. But something like an action air, that the mags just get a little bit too cold or a little bit too hot, and then they vent out the top. Very, very hard to prevent, and I don't have time for that. So went and got, it's like, the first action air match that I shot that I didn't have any issues was with Paul's own, or it's his old, I think, DVC action air gun, and the gun ran flawlessly, and I was able to beat Paul in a couple of stages. Just a little, if he's watching, I just want to get that one out there and remind him that one of the best action air shooters in the world, I was able to take a couple of stages off of him with his own gun. Just give me equipment that works, my true talent will shine through. But yeah, so for action air, yeah, I sort of have to go for a 2011, unfortunately, to have any sort of reliability or functionality with the gun. I hate handgun safeties. So do I, especially in VR. So I've been using Blobworks. I don't know if you guys have. I don't think I've shown a lot of it. I keep on meaning to do a whole video on this. So I ended up picking up an Oculus Quest 2, and there is the IPSC sort of training game by Blobworks, and I'm going to get it up, and there's loads of resources. The guy has a full 9 to 5 full-time job, and the amount of time and updates and stuff he's putting into this, well, I keep calling it a game. It's not a game. Into this simulator, it's just absolutely incredible. I don't know where he finds the times for it. but I'll bring it up and I'll show you some stuff. I will be doing a full video on this. I did get to, I tried it out at the Target Shooting Show for the first time, and it was like, yeah, I need that. But oh god, no, I don't want that full screen. I want to show you guys. So obviously you can sort of see on this one, he's using the controller. He's got all the functionality. The issue is, for me, like, obviously it's not the proper control of the guns. You're using a little toggle stick to take the safety off, and it's just not what you're used to. Like, give me a 2011 and yeah, I'll flick the safety off, no problem, most of the time. But this is just a little bit fiddlier. So I think what we're going to see is actually have more, certainly for the handguns, more bespoke controllers for it. But you can see this is, you know, he's shooting that stage in VR. He's in a big enough space, and you can see it is phenomenal training. You're going to get a lot out of this, and I think there's really a lot to be said for using VR and using this. And there's going to be a lot of bad habits that get installed in you using a VR. Like, first of all, there's no recoil. Now, if you're an action air shooter, it doesn't really matter. You don't have to compensate for that recoil anyway. But if you're shooting 9mm or you're shooting even major power factor, you could end up training yourself into a very loose, floppy grip. So that's something to be worried about and also be mindful about. The same thing shooting full bore handgun and also shooting action air. Again, a lot of cross compatibility in terms of training, in terms of muscle memory, but you can end up developing bad habits for either, because to be the top in any, you really do need to just focus on it and in some ways treat them differently. So, but what I've found so far with the Blobworks, with Blobworks VR, is site acquisition, getting the gun. Well, firstly, the competition environments, the commands. So getting more. I've done enough matches now, but if you're certainly new to it, getting used to the commands and getting into the routine of what they're doing. That's exactly the same in VR or real life. Also, your muzzle. Watching your muzzle angles, you can get DQ'd in the Blobworks practical. I always get the name wrong. It's the VR practical shooting app or simulator for Oculus. They and again, if you want to, I'll bring up. Basically, type in Blobworks to Facebook. I'll bring it up and show you, just so you know you're in the right place. If you have an Oculus and you want to go and download it, 100% recommend going and doing it. So yeah, getting your muzzle discipline under control or trained, very good for. But yes, sight acquisition or your sight's acquisition, bringing the gun up in VR, getting your sight picture, and then taking that shot. It feels exactly the same in VR as it does in real life. And you're pulling shots and calling your shots, you're able to do in VR as well, very well. So that there is a lot of benefit. And again, if you can't make it down to the range, like not everyone is fortunate enough to be able to visit a range every single day for various reasons. It's going to be better than nothing. And I think as this, as the VR practical shooting app develops, it's just going to get better and more powerful and get more beneficial for shooters and competitors. So you're looking for Blobworks, BLOBWRKS. They're on Facebook. If you go onto their Facebook page, you want to go to Oculus. So they've got a link there in their about. It is still in the development lab or the Oculus lab, but you can go and download it and you can use it. It is fully functional. They do other things as well, and there's regular updates. They're always posting, they're always making additions and changes. You can see very, very active on there. Even during the Christmas period, he was quite active. I suppose that's when a lot of us actually have a bit of time to get on and do some things. Again, you can see somebody, they're outside in their front lawn doing a whole stage. Again, stagecraft is again something that this is going to be very good for. What I can see is almost having like mini championships online where people will create a fresh new stage, and you still have to go through what is the most efficient way to shoot this and break it down and obviously practice your stagecraft. Ben Blogs and Gaming, yo, we are not needing licensing for silencers now. No, still very much need a certificate, and they still very much need to be on a certificate for moderators and suppressors. What we were talking about earlier in the live stream is that the discussion within the firearm and explosives licensing working group, the discussion has started about whether they should be moved off of a firearm certificate and be completely de-restricted and or unrestricted in terms of being able to purchase. So that talk has started. It's very promising, and all sides have admitted and agreed the benefit, but they don't want to go to war with each other. That's very important. Matt, Wyborn and RPSC have some videos, VR videos on their YouTube feed. Of course, Paul's actually been very, very active. If we just want to, so this is Paul at Magload, very, very good shooter, and also getting very good in VR as well, little bastard. I think it's Wyborn IPSC. So if you want to see, you know, a top class shooter using this software and how they're using it to train, you can head over to and just do it anyway, because you know you should support him because he's a good shooter, and you might learn a few things watching his match videos. So there's Wyborn IPSC. Go and subscribe to him because he puts a load of match content, all of his action air matches, and of course he is going to be doing, you know, practical shotgun, mini rifle, this, that, and the other. So you're going to see a lot of shooting content from him. What he's using a lot of VR at the moment. So this is, again, it looks a bit funny, but it really is immersive. You sort of switch off that it's VR. And I think he was actually doing this at the Magload unit because it's the only place big enough to be able to run through a stage like this. So it's just really from the perspective of a shooter, it's like pretty much exactly the same. Lot to be gained and a lot of benefits to be had in using the VR. But that's enough about VR. Make sure you hit that like button. Again, really does make a big difference. We've got more people watching than we've got likes. Why? If you're watching, why haven't you liked? Or, you know, now they're just going to leave. But anywho, make sure you subscribe as well. Hit that subscribe. It makes a huge difference. If you've watched more than 1 or 2 live streams, why haven't you subscribed already if you're not already? So yeah, it is much appreciated. When are we going to have a range day at the quarry? When you come down to the quarry, Daniel. Just let's pick a date. Let's pick a date. You pick a date, pick a day, and we'll have a range day. Or, you know, try and do it when, you know, KFC have a match on. You can see if you're in the KFC group, because I think you remember, Daniel, like, I'm going to try and shoot all of their matches as many of the club matches as possible. So yeah, we can do that. We can have a range day, or I can come up to 7-side if you want. How long before Facebook/Meta ban gun shooting on the Oculus? Like never say never. Like, really, but never say never. But I would be, I don't know, maybe it's naively optimistic of me to say I don't know why they would have any justification to ban VR guns. Like, I sort of I disagree with it, but I sort of understand it from YouTube's perspective about, and actually there's a bit of an update on this in terms of their guidance and what you can and can't show. So YouTube for a very long time, if you put up any sort of gun maintenance or modification video, gone. You'd get a mark against your channel. They wouldn't let you do anything. And I sort of get that to an extent, because if they're not firearm specialists, if they don't know guns, how do they know you're not showing somebody an illegal modification? Again, it's like this, it is this restriction of knowledge. You know, there are still various books that you can go and buy on Amazon Prime delivered to your door that tell you how to do very, very illegal things. And it's like, well, why, if we're not out there burning books or deleting books, why should information be restricted in a video format? But so it is a private, you know, you can't stop somebody, to an extent, you can't stop somebody from writing a book. a private company like Amazon, you know, Waterstones here in the UK, it's their choice whether they actually sell the book. And I guess you know, it is YouTube's right to decide what content and what videos they want on the channel. What has always been an issue, and also Facebook and Meta, but what an issue is the inconsistency and the lack of guidance. And they have slowly made it better. So now when you go and turn on monetization to a video, you've got to do this declaration that's been around for a while. And you can declare, yes, this is a firearms video, and, you know, no, there's none of this, and, you know, it's completely fine. Now it actually, previously, if you did any sort of maintenance videos, that would actually lose you monetization or restrict the monetization and potentially even get the video pulled completely in a strike against your channel. But now within the it's okay for advertising category, it says showing regular maintenance of a gun. So it's like modification, or I can't remember the bloody, like the issue is I can't see it without uploading a video, and I don't have a video to upload yet, so I have to maybe do a separate video on that, or get a screenshot for the stream next week. But yeah, it now actually gives you the provision, it now actually gives you the opportunity to say, like, hey, yes, this is, I'm going to show you the insides of the gun, I'm going to start stripping it down and showing you stuff, but actually this is part of routine maintenance. This isn't modifying it illegally. I'm showing what people should know about, you know, I'm showing people what they should know about the gun that they own in terms of regular maintenance and cleaning and so on and so forth, which is why I put out the video that I did on Tuesday, because there's various things that I like doing, and when I learn something myself about a new gun, or I like sharing that with you guys. That's the whole sort of premise of this channel. And, you know, when I was first learning things about firearms law and the processes, I would then share it to you guys and try and give my best take on it. But the video this week is all about the CMMG conversion kit, and, you know, seeing this change with YouTube and allowing them to show you basic maintenance and stripping down a gun. I feel more confident doing videos like this. So as you probably know, the competition gun that I've used is a Battle Arms for the previous year, and it's a CMMG gun. It is of course a 223 upper and lower receiver set, but it's had a 2.2 CMMG conversion kit fitted to make it a 2.2 long rifle semi-auto, so that it can be legal here. And it's slightly different than the slightly different than the 1522, which I'm so used to, and a lot easier. A lot of props to CMMG. They made it very, very simple and straightforward. So go through all the different processes, and we also fit the new magload firing pin in that video, which of course I've got to show you the new products. If you guys don't know, I obviously work with Connors on magload. It's my sort of, if you can call it a 9 to 5, this is my 9 to 5. It's what really pays the bills. And we have just got where we've been shooting this gun. Connors has been developing for it all year, and we have a number of products coming out. So at the moment, we've got the Relier pin from Magload. So this is for either a dedicated CMMG or the CMM22LR or a conversion kit. And it's not just, you know, a new firing pin for it. It's got very specific geometry. So it's designed to break less and wear less. So, you know, like with most guns, but the CMMG does tend to be particularly susceptible to it in terms of breaking firing pins. It's got various tweaks over the original one to prevent breakages, so longer lasting. It's not going to let you down in a match, and it's also had various changes to it to make it more compatible and reliable with other triggers. And this is why we're calling it the Relier pin, because it's meant to be more reliable and more compatible with various upgrades that you're going to do with it. So that's been released recently, and also a charging handle insert to prevent the jam of death, or the death jam, as some people call it. So this actually goes in the groove. I think there's a better photo of it. let's click in. So it goes into the space in the charging handle, just like that, if you can see that. So it fits in there, and it stops around. So here it's actually fitted in the gun. So as you can see, the bolt is back there. Well, if that wasn't there, there's a nice little space for a spent case or even a live round to shoot up into the charging handle and jam. And the infuriating thing about that is because racking the bolt doesn't clear it. Because it's in the charging handle, it just stays there, and racking that bolt does absolutely nothing. And there was actually a stage at the Welsh mini rifle championships where I had to like disassemble the gun on I don't know if it was, no, well, it wouldn't have been fitted because I've got the death jam on that particular stage. This is one of the probably oddities of stripping down guns, sorry, using guns for development that are in competition. So I think we were testing out maybe the bolt weight that competition, but yeah, I've had it happen to me in a match, and you're racking it and you're going, yeah, no, this is shit. And I ended up having to take the gun, disassembling the gun mid stage, almost lost me the stage completely, completely binned the competition for me, except by some miracle I got a reshoot. So in the end it didn't matter. But yeah, it's been extensively tested, and actually Otto, who builds the battle arms, he had a gun that no matter what he did, the natural ejection of the case was straight up into the handle, and he was like, look, do you have anything that's going to stop this? And one was like, well, as it would happen, I've just developed this. We sent it to him, completely fixed the issue. This gun was like continuously getting this death jam, and he completely fixed it, which was so big vote from Otto, who builds these guns, and that's sort of the best vote that you're going to get out there, really. So yeah, lots of new stuff and products coming out on Magload. So I did say about the bolt weight, where there is a bolt weight coming out from Magload for the CMMG conversion kit. The conversion kits, and this is again from Otto, they don't like high velocity ammunition. They obviously wear a lot quicker, but they tend to get incredibly dirty very, very fast. And when this dirt starts building up, that's when you start getting reliability issues. So putting this bolt weight there ends up making sure that the gun runs cleaner. So you're going to get more reliability. So the bolt weight will be coming out soon, but the firing pin and charging handle insert are available. So if you want one, magload.co.uk. Makes a huge difference to us, because again, it's what pays the bills and keeps us in food. And if you want to support the channel directly, I'd just like to get a couple of little plugs in there. We of course do have a website, so you can go on there if you want to. Firstly, I think more importantly, if you want to go and learn about how to get into the sport, there's a series of videos all nicely laid out for you about how to get into the sport, or filling out the application form, your first interview, and this will be added to over the course. So all the different aspects of getting your licensing. But we do have merch as well. So we've got stickers, we've got patches, we've got caps, a few Magload bits there as well. So this all goes directly into the channel to keep it running. Equipment, like video equipment, isn't cheap. And I say to people routinely, like, apart from like if you're maybe like a demolition ranch, but this channel has certainly cost, in more ways than one, it's cost me significant more than I've ever got back out of it. But again, I still very much treat this as a hobby, but any support is greatly appreciated. So a little bit of news. I did post this out on the EnglishShooting Facebook page, but I ended up going, I don't know why I had left it so long, but if you're on the south coast, or certainly within like the Andover Stockbridge area, highly recommend heading over to the Spitfire shooting ground, or Spitfire clay ground in Stockbridge. I've been going there for a number of years. It's where I used to go when I first got the Beretta Silver Pigeon. Absolutely loved the ground, and I don't know why I just left it so long. When I was at Bluefield Sports, there was a clay ground on the estate, so I guess that's probably why I didn't go to any other clay grounds, because it's like, well, I'm going to drive somewhere else when I've got one here. But yeah, we ended up going there, so it was a bit of a team magload affair. As you can tell, Connors is absolutely ecstatic to be out in the wild, outside in the wet and the cold. Just look at that smile. I've never seen more happiness on somebody's face. And I just want to point out that he is the only one not wearing a magload cap. Like, you know, represent. But yeah, ended up taking the trusty Silver Pigeon 1. Obviously, that's the 690 there, but that is the very first live firing gun I ever bought, the Beretta Silver Pigeon 1. Trusty gun, never let me. I don't think I've ever had a malfunction with that gun. It's just runs and beautiful. And that's a little picture of the clay ground. So it was great. I haven't done a round in clays in God knows how long. Luckily not too rusty. Managed to beat both Ben and Connors. Alex ended up winning, bastard. I think by, what was it, like 5 clays he managed to pit me. But yeah, I think we're going to end up going back and doing some more shooting there. It's a great ground, and they've really, I was going to say, like, they've really maintained it. No, they've really invested in it. Their clubhouse now is absolute. Like, I was looking at the clubhouse going, this is like living room goals. Like, I was like, this is, yeah, if this was my living room, I'd be perfectly fucking happy. And they've invested in the trap and the equipment and the stands themselves. So it's just a really nice place to go. So highly recommend. So that's Spitfire shooting ground. Actually, I'll bring up their Facebook page. Again, you can find any of the, I know some of you guys aren't on Facebook. So apologies, but I'll show you their Facebook page just so you can locate them a bit better. So they're the Spitfire Shoot is their proper name, so you can find them there. That's what they look like, and they've got all their details on there, and they're in Stockbridge, Hampshire. So yeah, you can. It's a great. I don't know if they've got any pictures of their clubhouse. Is that one? Oh yeah, that is their bar. But yeah, great ground. Highly recommend it. And hopefully I won't leave it so long next time before going back there. Right, so next on the agenda, BASC are going pretty hard on firearms licensing still. They released this article a couple of days ago. I think, again, I shared it on the English Shooting Facebook page. Highly recommend, guys, if you want like literally the latest and breaking news and stuff like that, head over to Facebook. There's the English Shooting Facebook page, and also there's an English Shooting Facebook group. So go and join both of them. There's lots of news and stuff posted in them, and within the group, lots of regular discussions. But BASC warns firearms licensing delays are at an unattainable level. Untenable level. And they actually go pretty hard at them, and they go as far as saying police failures. It's a term that's being used quite a lot at the moment, and this as well. This, I think, is quite telling. I think BASC, they have a wider plan here. The license departments are monopoly providers, leaving applicants nowhere to turn when faced with months of delay. I think the wording like this just gives me the impression that they're going to try and push for maybe centralization or privatization, or at least at the very least other options for people to be able to get their certificates and get their go through firearms licensing, but put their applications in and be able to get their firearms certificate and or shotgun certificate. And of course, a lot of it is the discontinuation of grant application is a failure to discharge the police's statutory duty. And I can't remember what the full quote was that I ended up using. What I quoted a bit like directly on the Facebook, and it was definitely a failure. But yeah, they're still going incredibly hard on them. and saying that they are failing, basically failing to do their jobs. The process of firing is a public service to ensure public safety. The Home Office is required to act before the whole system collapses. You know, this isn't light words from BASC. You know, they are saying that there's going to be bigger issues, basically, and that sort of this COVID excuse isn't really holding much water. And again, it's what we're seeing in Plymouth. You know, if the police are not doing what they're meant to be doing, you know, there's a reason we have firearms licensing. Or you would hope. So if they're not doing their job, they're putting the public at more risk. Again, if people aren't you know, having their renewals, if things aren't, if the wheels aren't turning particularly well, then it's only a matter of time before something else happens. And I've just actually, as I say that, I glanced over and I managed to find the sentence that I quoted, which I think really summarizes BASC's take on this. Their failure to correctly resource has led to significant delays and thousands of certificate holders edge closing to holding firearms illegally. Because again, once your certificate expires, you no longer have, as far as I understand it, you no longer have legal authority to be in possession of those firearms. So, you know, their failure to correctly resource, and they're very much pointing the finger here at firearms licensing and saying, like, it wasn't like this was this wasn't avoidable. If you had correctly allocated resource, we wouldn't have this. If you weren't still using COVID as a well, this is what they say above it. Whilst it is nearly impossible to plan for the disruption caused by the COVID pandemic, police forces should have been prepared for the peak renewal period and introduction of medical verifications. So yeah, it's sort of like, you know, BASC aren't buying it, and they're not pulling their punches when it comes to calling them out on their what BASC perceive to be to their failures. Their failures in their job and in their duty. Matt, if you think assembling mil-spec parts is witchcraft, I'm selling a bridge. You're selling a bridge? What sort of bridge? London Bridge? Have BASC not been pushing for just that for years? Again, I've never seen it in terms of a centralized. I think they've like skirted around it, but again, from what, and I tend to follow what BASC say quite a bit. They are, what, you know, whilst I may have my criticisms there here and there, they are a great source of information, and they are, well, part of my criticisms of BASC is that a lot of things tend to happen behind closed doors, and, you know, so whilst they have a wealth of information, and, you know, their ear well and truly to the ground, it was like, oh yeah, we know what's going on, but none of you, our members who we are here to serve, know what's going on. And that, I didn't really like that approach. I very much think it should be more open and more inclusive with the membership in terms of the information that they are privy to. So, you know, basically they do get a lot of information and sort of breaking updates a lot quicker than anybody else. So I do spend a lot of time monitoring them, but I think recently they've certainly been criticizing the current licensing structure. I haven't yet seen in black and white BASC call for or say that we should have a centralized firearms licensing department, or that it should be moved to privatization or something like that. They've just been very critical. As far as I'm aware, might be wrong. If you can provide me a link to somewhere else, that, you know, please do, because I'd like to be kept up in the loop. Daniel, I wish I had that on my old Chris. it would have saved me my ass a few times. What would have saved you your ass a few times is not buying a Chris in the first place. You'll never learn. Well, you have learned, because I won't spoil the surprise, because maybe you don't want it being public knowledge. But you finally listened to our advice. You ask for advice all the time. What should I get? No, okay, I'll buy this. You finally made the right choice, Daniel, and I'm so proud of you. Maybe we need to have a twin day when we go to the range. Daniel, does that insert work with all charging handles or just standard mil spec? I think it has to be mil spec. Maybe, I don't know. I have to ask Connors, because like he was very specific about it being the CMMG sort of charging handle insert. So there might be subtle differences with, you know, say a standard 223 or full proper mil spec gun. But we'll see, because if it could be sold to more people, I'm all for that. Uncle Dad, I've seen video gun ads on YouTube recently. Perhaps things are changing slowly. Yeah, this is when we had like the YouTube Armageddon, where like Rack and Load got shut down, and other large channels as well got shut down. There were, you know, YouTube gun apocalypse. People were calling this out and saying, well, hang on a minute, the firearms industry, they spend a lot of money advertising on YouTube, and it was like, it just seemed a bit hypocritical. It's like, we're going to shut down all of these gun channels, but then we're taking money from firearms companies and firearms industry to advertise on our platform. So I have to say, whilst a lot of things recently, certainly within the past month, there seems to be a lot more that gets demonetized, specifically on this channel, and I would say, like, compared to some of the channels out there, like, not actually that controversial. A lot of people like love to label or try and label this channel as controversial, or you know, I don't know, tackling controversial views. But actually, in the world of like gun YouTubing, I think this is pretty tame. Certainly in terms of a lot of the stuff that we do, you know, like I'm not setting fire to things or shooting watermelons with, you know, it's not a particularly extreme thing, but you know, I'm not messing about with guns. I'm not, you know, sticking 50 BMG rounds into shotguns, right, or into a 12 gauge. So, you know, and this channel still has issues. You know, it still has restricted. I don't think I have a video that is completely unmonetized, but it's like there's a traffic light system, and a lot of videos will fall into the, you know, maybe it's not suitable for all advertisers. That could be down to the language. Like in the YouTube, in the live streams, I swear, you know, and it's the live streams that tend to usually get more averagely demonetized. And I swear in the live streams, and that it might not have anything to do with the guns at all. It might just be the swearing. Yeah, and occasionally, yes, there will be topics that I understand advertisers don't want to be associated with. When we talked about the Plymouth shooting, when we're talking about, you know, sensitive issues, maybe about Dunblane or Hungerford, you know, Coca-Cola doesn't want a mid-roll fucking advert. It's like, yes, you know, and he killed 20 children. Coca-Cola. It's like, you can get that. You can get wine advertisers like, yeah, not that video, please. And there was this whole thing about, you know, actually specifically Coca-Cola, their ads being put on like anti-Semitic videos and like pro-Nazi videos, which obviously YouTube didn't have the algorithm, or the algorithm wasn't as advanced as it is now, and these videos were going undetected, and you know, Coca-Cola was being advertised on them, and that was not a good look for Coca-Cola. You know, whilst they really had no choice over it, they give YouTube a load of money and send them the media to be advertised. It still was a PR nightmare for the company when their adverts are put in, you know, put on videos like that. So I understand it, and to be fair, I think YouTube have actually been very good in terms of identifying that not all guns are bad, and allowing you know, channels to still grow. And let's not forget that some of the largest YouTube channels in the world are actually gun channels. Actually, let's go. Let's have a look. YouTube channels by subscribers. I'm going to say this, but and then it's going to be like 2. Let's see how long. Okay, this is going to take a while, isn't it? What is the most followed? Oh, things have. Okay, put it another way. Like the top, I don't think there's a single gun channel in the top 100. Yeah, 31 million to get in the top, the top 100 YouTube channels. 31.4 million is what you need. So come on, guys, hit that like button. We're almost there. We're on our way to. Yeah, not that. I don't know what we're on our way to, but well, like, what's the biggest? What is the biggest gun? I'll just say gun YouTube channel by subscriber. Here we go. Okay, so to enter, this was done. I don't know how up to date this was. This was January the 10th, 2021. So this is pretty hot off the press. But Demolition Ranch seems to be the largest at 8.1, nearly 8.6. 5.2 at Hickok 45 full mag, 2.5. So, you know, okay, nowhere near the 30 odd million that you need to get in. You need to get into the top, sort of the top 100. Why aren't I on there? I've got more than him. What's this? Name of gun YouTube. Oh, they've ranked it by the name. Okay, that's not really what we were going for there. And I'm going to see it. Where is it? Where's EnglishShooting? Where is it? They've forgotten me again. But still, anyway, the point I was getting to is that you're still talking millions of subscribers. You're talking billions of views. Billions of views? Well, yeah, between all of this, you're talking a huge amount of ad revenue within the firearms community on YouTube. I don't think YouTube are that stupid enough to just go, no, we don't want that money. We don't want to accept money from the firearms industry because they pay a lot of money to advertise on YouTube. And we don't want to switch off the gun channels because we have millions of people on our platform purely to watch these videos who we are advertising to. So it's a mutually beneficial relationship. And I don't know, I feel a lot more confident that gun channels on YouTube are here to stay. Facebook, I don't know. Like, I would hope so, but again, it's all marketing, it's all advertising, it's all revenue for them. Why would they? As long as you're following the law, and they are getting better. Certainly, YouTube is getting better at knowing what is and isn't legal in terms of what people are showing and what people are doing. So the better they get at that, the more of a chance that we have to stay. A lot of people saying that those numbers are well out of touch. So Demo Ranch is actually at 10 million. Again, 10 million people. That's like, if you were to put that sort of, you put a price on 10 million people, advertising to 10 million people, you're talking hundreds of thousands of pounds, and that's just his audience. Ricochet, I was thinking about making a YouTube channel just for real world ballistics testing on ammunition. I know others have done it, but I try through a few things differently. Absolutely, get into it. Like, give it a go. Nothing ever bad happens from putting videos out on YouTube and creating a gun channel. Just nothing at all. You'll never have an issue, promise. Police love it. And some exciting news in terms of competition. CISO 2022 has been announced, and some of you guys are going, what the bloody hell is CISO? It is the Central European Shotgun Open, and whilst it is, I believe it is only a level 3 competition, so it's effectively only like a national competition rather than sort of an area competition. And it wasn't there last year, so I think the last registration was like 2020, and that obviously got postponed, and then we had 2021 as well. But they have announced, I think there is a, I can't, basically they've announced, I'm trying to find more sort of media for it. The reason this is so important is we're coming up to a lot of world shoots. We've got the Handgun World Shoot, IPSC Handgun World Shoot, the end of this year, and then in 2023, at the end of 2023, at the beginning of 2023, we have the Action Air World Shoot, and then at the end, we have the Mini Rifle and PCC, and also Shotgun World Shoot, and then I think 2024 is the Rifle World Shoot. I think that's what it is. But anyway, we've got a lot of world shoots coming up. We've got, so the reason CISO is so well regarded is whilst it's only on paper a level 3, it's actually run, from what I've been told, I've not had the opportunity to go there yet. What I've been told, it is run more to like a world shoot standard, certainly more of a I'm glitching, it's because for some reason my battery's getting low. Let's hold down Chrome. Saying encoding overload, so that's why I'm glitching, so I apologize for that. So I've just closed down Chrome in an attempt to get it back. But yeah, it's on for 2022. We are going out there, so it's good practice, good preparation for a match or for a world shoot and high level competition. And yeah, I'm looking forward to going and attend it. I will be filming it. I've got permission from the organisers to film it, so we will be we'll be covering that. It will be on the channel, and hopefully I'll have an opportunity to shoot it as well. So I've covered world shoots before. Well, I've covered the rifle world shoot. Because of the other commitments that I had for that, I didn't have really a lot of time to put a lot of media and videos on this channel. But for this it will, so you'll get to see on this channel full in-depth, full coverage of a really major match. And then I'm hoping, as Connors and I go to the world shoots, we'll be able to we'll be able to cover that and show you guys when we go out to a world shoot, whichever world shoots we get out to. Heppy ditch the Mac. No, ain't gonna happen. I love Mac. Never goes wrong at all. No glitching. Battle arms or Lantac? I almost battle arms. If you want a metal receivers, Otto at Cotswold Classic Arms. Yeah, if you want a full mil spec AR, Otto does 2 or 3 different specs. Aero precision, battle arms development. He'll build you exactly what you want. It will be cheaper than anybody else, and in my experience, it will be superbly reliable. I've never seen one of his guns run badly, and he's so passionate and so what's the word? He's got so much pride over his work. Like, if you had an issue, he'd be driving to your house and fixing it for you. He's that sort of guy. But 100% battle arms. Anyway. I think that's about it for this evening. Before you all head off, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It really does make a big difference. It makes me feel good. So if you want me to feel good, hit that like button. Don't care now about the dislike button. You can hit that to your heart's content. I can't see that, so I only see the positives in life now. But yes, I am I'm gonna head off. But I hope you've enjoyed this stream. I really should have put the link in here for the FELWG minutes, but if you go, it's actually in the English Shooting Facebook group. So if you really want to see the minutes for yourself, the full minutes of FELWG, head over to Facebook, the English Shooting Facebook group, and you'll find a post with them in there if you want to learn more about that. Maybe doing a couple of dedicated videos around that, because I think it really is some important aspects and important areas touched on there, and of course we will keep an eye on that and see how they develops. Daniel can see the dislikes. Oh dear. And also a link that I will just quickly give to you, because I'm probably just going to go and hang out in there in a little bit. I always like to have a little bit of a break when I get off stream. But if you're looking for an area that's all like a friendly UK Discord, to discuss all things UK shooting, and it doesn't matter, you don't have to be in the UK, you don't have to be a UK firearms owner or a UK shooting enthusiast. Anywhere in the world, people are welcome in there. So it's the UK shooting Discord. I'll be over in it in a minute, so if there's anything you want to chat, talk about, I don't know, directly to me, then holler me on there, at me on there. But yeah, go and join the Discord. It's a great community. There's monthly competitions as well, shooting competitions, and I tend to hang out there a fair bit. Probably not as much as I did to begin with, because I realised how much of a time sink it is. Connors is also in there as well, so if you want any sort of wizard advice for your guns, then ask him. You can at him as well. But yeah, again, everyone, thank you very much for joining. I really hope you've enjoyed the stream and found it enjoyable. Again, please hit that thumbs up, hit the subscribe button. Same place, same time next week. There'll be a video. Don't know what it will be, but there will be a video before then. Hopefully out anywhere between sort of Monday and, I don't know, maybe Sunday. Maybe I'll try and get one out for Sunday. I think I've got a free weekend, so we'll see what we get out. Anyway, there'll be a video out later this week, early next week. And then, of course, 7:30 p.m. UK time, every single Thursday, we do the stream. So have a fantastic week. Hope you get lots of shooting in. And of course, as always, I hope to see you soon.